Cheers, Frank. Nice to know I was talking to myself for the last 2 minutes. How you going? How was your weekend? Did you get up too much? I guess I'll just repeat everything, I guess. Anyway, basic workout today. Dips. I'll figure out my legs later, either lunges or squats. Usual ab works, crunches and leg raises. For the last one, I'll either be lateral raises for my shoulders or rows or pulls for my upper back. I'll see which one I feel like. I'll be doing a bit more shoulders because I feel like they're a bit underdeveloped. Anyway, I wasted enough time. But thanks for joining, Frank. Have you heard of that? Have you heard of that Snoop Dogg stream? Where when he streams, it's amazing because it just works so well. Like sometimes when he streams, he forgets to like turn his mic on, and he'll do just hours of streaming. He's not realizing his mic's like off and whatnot. And he's like playing some sort of game, I believe, or doing something on Twitch. I'm not sure what. But you know, the guy gets a pass and everything, all that. Everyone thinks it's cool and amazing. Yeah, I'm just trying to see how fast I can get DMCA'd. I'm just gonna put what I watch on the bottom left there. I really don't care if my stuff gets copyrighted anyway. I do the same form of workout anyway, so it's not like I'm losing anything. Man, I'm still trying to get that font right for chat. Sorry, not the font. Well, font and color. Just trying to see what works best to be able to read easiest. I'll try the weighted dips for now. See how I feel. I've done weighted dips before. Word in front of me. I'll do a warm up first.
Back to the Philip DeFranco Show. It's a very special Sunday community show today, giving you some of something you've been loving and some of something you've been requesting. So to start, let's take a look back at last week with help from our frustrated weekly wrap-up correspondent, Zed Tabani, who was also fine with me mispronouncing his name for 2 weeks. Zed? Some you beautiful bastards.
Hey, I'm just waiting until Twitter dies. Someone kill it and just give me vibes. Spit a lie, 100,000.
Hey, you beautiful bastard. Zed isn't the only one that had reactions to the news last week. The DeFranco Nation had many opinions. Starting on Monday, for example, there was that Pokimane controversy and backlash, and that's simply because she tweeted out that she was paying for her parents' retirement, and it actually resonated with y'all, especially when she explained why she was sharing this. And some of you commenting things like, as an immigrant, I understand Pokimane's pride in being able to support her parents. And what Pokimane did is what a lot of us wish we could do. Glad she's able to help her parents out. I hope to be able to do the same someday. As well as why shouldn't good deeds be recognized? The world's so full of crap and bad that the good deeds should be announced and celebrated. Although, on Monday, you did have people very pissed off, specifically around Adriana Chechik, but she revealed that she had to end her pregnancy so the doctors could operate on her after the TwitchCon incident, with main reactions being things like, as if there wasn't enough justification for Adriana to sue the absolute hell out of Twitch. Neither Adriana nor literally anyone should have to go through all she's going to. This is heart-wrenching. That wasn't the only heartbreaking story. Of course, we talked about South Korea. There was that horrifying Halloween tragedy, so many dead, and we actually got a number of comments from people that live in South Korea. People sharing, I survived the Seoul crowd crush on Halloween. I saw the whole thing unfold and nearly got crushed myself. It was really scary. It just happened so quickly. I'm currently studying abroad, and my school is in Seoul. I was supposed to be at a Halloween party that night, but some things changed. However, I had friends in the area. It's a lot that we're working through. And one of the key things was I can't go on any social media without being re-traumatized. With people adding that social media has been flooded with disturbing videos without trigger warnings. There's also, of course, been this never-ending news cycle around Twitter and Elon Musk this week. The sale of the company went through, there have been massive layoffs, but at the beginning of the week, almost all the stories were around Elon Musk's decision to spread a wild conspiracy theory about the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. There's some right right-wingers came up with the idea that this attacker wasn't there to kill Nancy Pelosi despite all the facts, including that the attacker even admitting doing so, but instead saying he was a gay prostitute and or really like normalizing the attack. With Musk eventually deleting that tweet after the backlash, though, making fun of people for kind of calling him out, being like, I'm not the New York Times. But with that, I was very interested to know about the state of the nation, specifically the DeFranco nation, you beautiful bastards. And so I put out a poll, pointed to this situation, and said, do you think this is kind of a little Elon oopsie, or do you just think this is a taste of things to come? And while I ended up seeing responses like it was probably something he thought was funny, reread it later, realized it wasn't even close to funny, and deleted it, probably the most human thing to do, laughing my ass off, with 17% of you saying you thought it was just a little stumble for Elon. The vast majority, 83%, said this is just a small taste of where things are headed, saying things like, it's really hard to call that a stumble. He's a veteran of the tech industry, an executive of several major companies, and has been a public figure for a long time now. There's no way he didn't know what he was doing. As I'm saying, Twitter will soon be in the same dumpster fire as Gab and Parler and Truth Social. Though there are also quite a few people down in the comments saying this is kind of just par for the course from us. They're saying it's not really just a stumble when it's just his normal pattern of behavior. And if anyone is surprised by this, they clearly haven't paid attention to this megalomaniac's actions. As well as the same man who randomly called the diver saving trapped kids in a cave a pedophile. What a surprise. The guy's acted erratically for years. Though of course there were still people saying, you know, he's just the troller in chief. He's doing it for the memes. But that also then kind of fed into people leaving comments like just more evidence that if you're rich enough, there's absolutely no accountability. But the rich stuff, while accurate, I don't think that also ties into like the cult of personality around Elon Musk. And you know, I still do believe that I think he's going to try to use the culture war as a way to monetize Twitter. I think you can already see that in play with certain accounts that he's tweeting that are talking about like the elites versus the small guys, $8 being nothing, right? That all around Twitter Blue, which on Thursday I just kept calling because I'm a fucking idiot. We'll see how this mess plays out sooner than later. We also, on Tuesday, talked about Halloween costumes getting people in trouble. Or with the one getting the most attention being MGK and Megan Fox. There's a lot of Christian outrage, people calling it blasphemous. And while some of the comments were things like, if I was famous, I'd just dress up as myself and then walk around town convincing people I was just really good at costumes, which is fucking hilarious, Eric. You also had a number of people talking about a point of the story that I actually didn't cover in the show. People posting comments like, I honestly think Megan and MGK dressing up as Tommy and Pamela Anderson was far worse. He was literally sent to prison because of his abuse against Pamela, and they thought it was a cute Halloween costume. This is a result of that Hulu show and the televised trial that showed people don't actually take abuse seriously, even if they say they do. Disgusting. So there was a lot of heaviness around that, but the final thing I'll mention with the costumes is my producer Corey would like to apologize for not including the fact that Heidi Klum dressed up as a fantastic work. He has begged your forgiveness, and I hope that you give it to him, though I do hope you make him work for it, just for my entertainment. And then I want to take a second to pay the bills for this show and thank a fantastic longtime sponsor of the show, Athletic Greens. You know, AG1 by Athletic Greens is an essential and effortless routine giving you the peace of mind that your body is getting the nutrients it needs every day. And y'all, it is the best tasting all-in-one I have ever tried and an easy habit I've been able to stick to for almost 2 years now. They made me realize not all vitamins are made equally, but AG1 is doing it right. They invest in high-quality ingredients, going above and beyond to ensure what's on the label is exactly what's in the powder. And AG1 supports your energy, focus, gut health, digestion, immune system, and more. It's also certified for sports and it's trusted by top athletes. It's 75 whole food sourced ingredients, include a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, superfood greens blend, and more, so you don't need other supplements piling up on your countertop. And the best part is that you added immune system support with a free 1-year supply of vitamin D plus 5 individual travel packs with your purchase. Honestly,
if it's lower, it's
find
easier.
a
If it's
better,
higher,
more
then
comprehensive
your feet are
supplement.
higher than
Head over
your
to
waist, then it's harder.
athleticgreens.com/Franco or click the link below to get their best offer of all time. Then, on a much heavier topic, on Wednesday, of course, a lot of you had a lot of thoughts about that disturbing situation in Iowa where 2 teens allegedly murdered their teacher over a bad grade. People sounding off saying, I'm from Fairfield and the whole town is devastated. The high school is struggling to staff all the classes for obvious reasons. I strongly hope both boys get a guilty verdict with the maximum penalty. My mom is a high school teacher. This makes me sad and worried. She only wants what's best for students, but still gets shit on by kids because they don't do what they're supposed to and get bad grades for it. And one person even saying, Senora Graver was my favorite high school teacher. I still have photos with her at my 2014 graduation party. I was so incredibly heartbroken when I heard what happened. She was a mother and a mentor, and her life was taken over a high school letter grade. I'm so disgusted that these boys came from my town. She was a beautiful soul and did not grade harshly either. She simply didn't falsely inflate the grades as slackers like some other teachers did. Then on Thursday, I just want to say myself and the team so happy that a lot of you appreciated our interview with Vitaly. You go through these comments and appreciated some of you saying things like, I really appreciate you reaching out and interviewing someone non-American. I'm I'm Irish, and a good few of your interviews feel like they don't apply to me, so it's cool to hear from international voices. And I will say on that, right, it's even better for us when we do stories that heavily impact a group and then seeing like the comments just of people like loving being seen or heard. And I love seeing a lot of appreciation regarding doing a lot of international news in one day. We like trying to make those stories consumable. But I will note, nearly everyone agreed on those topics, but I can't say the same for the Logan Paul situation. Or Logan Paul now making the decision that he wants to fight Andrew Tate after saying a few months ago that he didn't want to platform him. Because while a lot of people are like, yes, I'm gonna watch this, some even saying, yes, I'm gonna watch it, but it's gonna be a hate watch, a number of people felt like Logan was being a hypocrite here. People saying things like, what really upsets me about the Logan flip-flop is when he spoke about the ideas of fighting Tate on his podcast, Logan so elegantly and passionately expressed how he should not, nor anyone with a large enough audience should, give this dirtbag a platform, with some calling his morals a roulette wheel. But yeah, looking through all those comments over the weekend, I was like, maybe I should reach out to Logan, see if he wants to talk again, though I also don't know if I want to do that. Y'all, I talk about politics for a living. I have never gotten more death threats than when I had Logan Paul on the show. And that was just me hearing him out, same as the day after I talked to the reporter out of Puerto Rico and like did the same thing. Also, while I have you, I wanted to talk about an underreported story last week. There's a lot happening at all times, but more than 130 people actually died over last weekend when a walking bridge in India collapsed. The bridge was built in the 19th century and actually just went through 7 months of renovations before being open to the public just about a week ago. And according to the local government, there were about 200 people on the bridge despite its capacity of just 125 when a cable at one end apparently snapped and the bridge fell. With the Prime Minister of India then saying at a campaign event, the state government has set up a committee to investigate the incident. I assure the people of the country that there will be nothing lacking in the relief and rescue efforts. And along with the investigation, the state has launched a criminal complaint against the company responsible for maintaining the bridge. Because it turns out the key thing here, they reopened after renovations without getting a safety certificate from the government. But as far as the company, they spoke to a local news outlet and they actually blamed those on the bridge, saying the bridge collapses too many people in the midsection of the bridge were trying to sway it from one way to the other. You've also got the state government promising compensation for the families of the victims, but I mean, that can only go so far. I mean, you can never really replace who was lost. Like there's this father who lost his wife and 2 children in the disaster. He was saying and asking, why were so many people given tickets? Who allowed them? Who is answerable? And on that note, according to Reuters, Indian police have arrested 9 people, including ticketing clerks and security guards, for failing to regulate the crowd. But for now, we're gonna have to keep an eye on the investigation, see what else comes out from this, what happens with those arrested. And in the meantime, myself and my team, we send our sincerest condolences to those who lost family in this tragedy. But with that said, that's where I'm gonna end this weekly recap, stories you missed, community show. If you liked it or you loved it, make sure you hit that like button and get ready for a whole week of brand new Philip DeFranco shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at around 2-3 p.m. Pacific time. For me, this was a lot of fun. If it becomes more of a standard thing, I'm gonna start wanting to try and include video responses and things like when we did the weird-ass Taco Bell video together. Yeah, I think this could be fun, and this didn't stress me out, which is part of the reason why when we test new things, I don't follow through with them, because they usually stress me out. Be a part of the conversation down below, and you might also be a part of the show now. And actually, for those of you that are interested in exclusive polling, or even being a part of the show in like a video format, join my text line at 813-213-4423. When we do a request for video, we do it through that also because we can like send out text messages based off of where people live, which also makes it more likely that we'll actually be able to use your video. The main thing, I love yo face, and I'll see you tomorrow.
A slight modification in my lunges. I'm bringing my knees a bit further past the toes. Again, knees over toes guy. Seeing how it works. Suppose it's meant to work my quads a bit more. It is warm today. Again, don't have to do those lunges. Just do normal ones, either forward or backwards. You're going to be working out something. That's all that matters when you're working out or starting or whatever. Just do something. Alright, next thing. Let's see if they'll take my video down for this one.
I was the escrow account.
Okay.
So
it's a wild thing to do.
Yes. That's how the whole match came, because he was competing against some guy who won like the Brazilian trials.
Now so
And,
sensitive.
He like basically beat Felipe. It was like a terrible match for Felipe. Felipe won, but he didn't look great. So he's like, "Oh, do you want to do a no time limit match?" He called him out publicly. He's like, "Do you want to do a no time limit match? We can do a bet match if you want." I'm like, "Oh, you're doing bet matches no time limit now." I'm like, "I'll give you 4-1 odds." I'm like, "You can pick the number. I'll put up 4 to 1. Like you put up 10,000, I'll put up 40. You put up 100, I'll put up 400." And he makes this big long post basically to say no. And I'm like, "Really, 4 to 1? No." I'm like, "I'll give you 10 to 1. He's like, "Okay, fine, 10 to 1. So I'm like, "Okay, fine." I'm like, "You pick the number." He's like, 10,000. I'm like, 10,000? Like, that's the best fucking number you can come up with. I'm like, if someone gave me 10 to 1 odds, I'm putting up like at least 100 grand. Like, fucking figure it out. He goes, "I'll put up 10,000. Okay. So he wires Mo the 10,000. I wire Mo the 100,000. And then he's trying to change the rules, and I'm like, no, we have this like contract agreed on. So I'm like, we either fight as agreed, or we reschedule the match. Like, if you can fight for 10 minutes, you can fight for an hour. It doesn't fucking make a difference. Like, if you're gonna do the match, do the match. So then he's like, oh no, I'm not gonna fight. So then this is where it gets interesting, because he's like, I'm not gonna fight, and doors are about to open. So Flo like has
already
had
some accidents every time he's gone into the room.
We'll give you some extra money, and he's like, okay, now I'll fight. And I'm like, okay, so you wanted to fight, you just fucking wanted more money, like, so they had to pay him more money to get him to fight, and then he goes out, and you can always tell when Felipe started to lose it. His body language falls apart. He starts complaining to the ref. The second he didn't want to sit back, we went out of bounds, and he didn't want to go back to bottom guard, which is the position that we finished in. And I'm like, yep, he's done. And then I started picking up the pace a little bit, and then we ended up standing back up, and then he just walks over to the judging table, and Powell was there, and he's like, are you done? Like, what's wrong? And Felipe apparently was just like looking around, not saying anything, just like traumatized. So then like there's crowd starts booing him, and then he comes back to the mat, and I'm like, yep, he's toast. So then I started picking up the pace more, and then like 2 minutes later, he's like, okay, I was like passing his guard, about to pass his guard, and I just hear, okay, I'm gonna stop now, and I'm just like, what? And he's like, I'm gonna stop now. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, buddy. So I just got up, and he just fucking quit during the match. So then he had this whole post-fight interview where he's like saying I'm a terrible person and this and that. So now he's just getting back to his normal life. Like, things are just starting to settle down. And I just realized when Mo got here, I'm like, we have a second bet. He's like, would you give me the same odds for ADCC? I'm like, yes, absolutely. 10-1.
Ling, thanks very much for making an account and following. How are you? How's your day? You're probably at work, aren't you? Or something.
So we signed a second contract. So now Mo messaged him the other day, and he's like, hey, Felipe, he sent me another $10,000 for if you guys needed ADCC. And now he just fucking wakes up to this message like, oh man, I have to send this fucking guy another 10 grand. So now we have a second bet match where if we meet at ADCC, it's the same 10-1 odds.
So this is only if, because the brackets are random.
Well,
How are the brackets picked?
I do the brackets.
Oh, so you do it, you select.
Yeah, so I mean,
Well, you could conveniently select.
I asked him to put the top 4 seeds on my side, but he told me they couldn't do that.
yeah, he always does crazy stuff. I mean, for example, Gordon's the first guy I've ever seen who's doing the super fight and asked to do the division as well. So he's doing both. He's going to do the division. The crazy thing is this, potentially, very high chance maybe. I mean, I think Felipe Penna's going to be the second seed. So if they do meet, it'll be in the finals. So the 2 super fight fighters in 2019 was Felipe Penna against Gordon. So there is a possibility where Gordon would face Felipe Penna, and then the next, an hour later, Andre Galvao. So just insane.
Someone will definitely kill themselves if I submit Penna and then submit Andre. Like, some hater somewhere is just gonna blow their brains out 100%.
Yeah. People, they've run out of shit to say. That's one thing for sure.
Now they're making the only thing they're making fun of now is my hairline. I have like a little widow's peak. My dad had like a bad widow's peak. They're like, man, his hairline's receding. I'm like, that's the best you guys got. I'm like, this is what we're gonna do now. You're just gonna make fun of my
They're
hairline.
probably gonna call me soon. I'm gonna have to cut my workout a bit short.
That's all they can make fun of. That's hilarious. There's a moment where like someone achieves this undeniable success where even the haters have to just take a deep.
Well, it's almost like
breath.
arguing with liberals about Trump. Like they just refuse to acknowledge facts. Like there was hundreds of people after the last match, like Felipe 3-0, he won that match. Like they're just like he won the match, and I'm just like I'm like all right guys, like I can't even argue against that.
Who said that?
There was a ton of them. I mean, there was.
I saw the comments.
Yeah.
My issue with that whole thing, that whole Philippe Gordon match, was I was actually the one that informed Gordon because he likes to sleep late when he competes. So it was like 3:30 p.m. Nat tells me like what happened. My match might get canceled. I was like, shit, I gotta wake him up. So I wake him up and I sit down and I tell him the situation. And the reality is Gordon was 100% ready to postpone the match. So the narrative is that he was the one that was pushing it to happen, and that's really not the case. And I know that because I was the one that informed them.
So how does Howell fit into that?
So then they did they had this show on YouTube where like they came out and Howell was like they were doing this interview with these three guys, not this podcast basically with three guys, and Howell like basically said that I was like offered to move the show the fight up to the beginning of the card, and that I said no, I refused, and I would only fight in the agreed upon terms. I was not willing to change anything in the contract, and that I wasn't willing to reschedule. They didn't mention about paying him more money, and they like just left some things out where it just made me look like the bad guy, and I'm just like, this is just not what happened at all. Like, if you guys are gonna like talk about
Howell's a good guy. That's what I don't understand. Like, I've known Howell forever. I don't understand, why would he do that? Was he misinformed?
Yeah.
So apparently he just got his information from fucking Felipe's Instagram. I'm like, I'm like, that's where you fucking got your. I'm like, we both made a public post, and I'm like, this is just like, I'm okay where if people call me out for being an asshole and I'm actually an asshole, I'm like, okay, fine. But like, if you're just gonna attack my character and just say something just didn't happen and blatantly lie about it, then I have a problem with it. I'm like, just like, no, guys, this is not what happened at all.
It really sucks because he's a very good commentator.
Yeah, he is.
It's very hard to find someone who's that good at jiu-jitsu, who understands positions and is also a very good broadcaster. And I think Howell fits that bill. He's very good.
He's very talented.
I love listening to his commentary. I was really bummed out when he got fired, but then when you told me the whole story behind it, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't want him to get fired. I'm like, guys, you just have to fix this. Like, this is just not what happened.
He should just apologize. He should just apologize and say he was misinformed, and they should hire him again. Because he's the best at it. In terms of like a broadcaster who's like a really good professional broadcaster who's also very knowledgeable in jiu-jitsu, understands positions, understands the rule set.
For example, Howell signed up because we do ADCC rules seminars because the rules are very complex. Howell took the course, and to be honest, very knowledgeable. So, he took it very serious. Me and Howell bumped heads a few times, but I like him. We were supposed to do for ADCC 2022, we were supposed to do like a pre-match show together. So I was bummed, but I invited him. He's going to come to the event and watch. So
maybe they could iron it out.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, did he apologize?
No, he didn't.
Mm.
He didn't. Flo apologized. Howell didn't apologize to me.
Oh, he should.
I mean, he definitely fucked it up. I mean, I didn't want him to get fired, but he fucked that one up big time.
Yeah, but that sucks if you get bad information from someone's Instagram and you think, well, I know Felipe's a good guy, he would never lie, and then you just go and say the thing.
You gotta double check.
You should definitely double check.
Especially something that like.
But Felipe is like notorious for doing shit like this. Like, he's like the hardest person ever to negotiate with or do anything with.
Isn't it weird though when someone's that good at something but also has kind of a shifty character?
Yeah, that's like most people in the sport, though.
Really?
Yeah. They're fucking... Because everyone's fighting, for the most part, over such a small, minuscule amount of money. And there's so many people in the sport, and there's so little money, that everyone's just willing to fucking backstab one another for fucking $10. Like,
but wouldn't you think, though, that at this point, when they've seen how much money you make, because you make so much more money than anybody else when it comes to like selling instructionals and just
it's like a Connor to the rest of the guys.
It's so different that you say, hey, like, what is he doing different?
You would think, right?
I should fucking do that.
Dude, I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
But I think they're just so blinded by hate that they just are just like, fuck that guy, and they just refuse to like even acknowledge anything. But yeah, I mean, it makes my job easier. It's great for me because I'm the only guy doing it. I mean, not everybody. I mean, no one can do what I do. Like, no one's gonna go on a 60-match winning streak and be able to call submissions and stuff like that. But there are other ways to build a brand, and these guys are just so bad at it. Like,
but conceivably, someone could do what you've done if they did what you've done.
Yeah.
Like, conceivably, it's possible. You know, I mean, it's not.
Yeah, if I do it, people can do it.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, they just don't.
Isn't that interesting when one person just separates himself from the herd and nobody goes, hey, I need to do what that guy's doing, and then that becomes like the norm. It's you must train 7 days a week. You must study tape. You must analyze it from an intellectual perspective and not just be a brute.
It's so crazy. Actually, like, we're just releasing it now, like, for ADCC. I just wrote a book on this about like building brands and like how to be successful as like a young person or a young athlete, and it goes into like a lot of that stuff. but it's just crazy how none of these guys can like differentiate themselves. Like, okay, if you can't win, at least like be different. Like do something different where it's like you get someone's attention. Like,
But you are different. The thing is, people trying to be different, then you get Dylan Dennis.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You get people who just trying a little too hard.
yeah.
You know, obviously he has talent, but there's something about that extra, the trying too hard, that people are like,
Yeah, it gets like played out.
it doesn't work.
And then when you don't
It's not the
win or you
same.
don't compete, then
Yeah.
it's just like then it just kind of spirals out of control.
Exactly. Then it's like he's just
just
making
talking.
a lot of noise.
I mean,
Yeah.
my thing with Gordon too is he doesn't play it safe. A lot of guys, when they reach the top, that's when they stop taking matches as much, and they just want to protect, their position. He's clearly not doing that. I mean,
Right.
he's going into his division. This has 5 ADCC champions in it. It's never happened before. So he's one of them. So he's got Felipe Pena, Vinny Magalhaes is in there, Orlando Sanchez, Cyborg, and all these killers. And he's like, hey, can you put 2, 3, and 4 on my side of the bracket? I'm like, doesn't work like that. I was like, I can't.
Well, because I'm already gonna be there for the weekend. Like it's just more free money to do
Yeah.
the division. I'm like, I may as well just fucking do the division and get more money.
Yeah, it makes sense. Have you read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell?
I haven't.
It's a really good book.
Yeah.
And it's you. It really it pertains to you and your success. It's about the Beatles. It's about all these different outliers in sports and art and what they've done that separate them from everybody else. Like with the Beatles, they got this job in Hamburg where they were playing 7 nights a week. They were playing 5, 6 hours a night. They were playing every night. So they left Liverpool. They go to Hamburg. They're playing. And they do this for like a couple years, and they come back, and they are completely different band. They're so much better. They're so smooth and in sync. And then when they came to America, when they broke out worldwide, that was where it all came from. It all came from insane amounts of hard work,
Yeah.
insane amounts of numbers and reps.
Did you see? I'm sure you watched The Last Dance.
No, I didn't. I haven't
No,
seen that.
That was really good too.
I've heard it's really good.
You can see why Jordan was different than the rest of the
Yeah.
guys.
It's that same thing. It's
Yeah.
just like being willing to put in way more work than everybody else, way more thought into it, way more focus, and that's where results are achieved.
And a lot of these guys too, like they're all just focused on like being athletes. So like they'll teach seminars just to survive, and then they'll just train and do the bare minimum. But like it's like you're commentating UFC. You don't just do that. Like you have a podcast, you have this, you have that. Like you got to be doing other shit besides just training. Like you have to like get your fucking brand in order. You got to organize your life. You got to do all this shit that people don't want to do. And athletes are so tunnel vision. I just want to compete. I just want to do this. I just want to train. You got to branch out and do other shit too.
Comics are similar, the same way. Like I when we started doing podcasts in 2009, I told all these comedians, I'm like, do it multiple times a week. And they're like, I don't want to. And I'm like, dude, you want to get people addicted. I go do it 3-4 times a week. And even the guys I was doing it with were like, why are you fucking doing this so much? And I was like, listen to me. You got to do it more. The more you put out there, the better you're going to get at it, and then the more people are going to listen to it. And they're like, yeah, but I got to do stand-up and this, that. I go, bitch, I do stand-up too. The fuck are we talking about? You go out on stage at night. Well, I got to write. Well, I fucking write too. I write at night. Like, there's time to do all these things.
But like like most of those people, I mean, some people can change, but like most of those people, like the second they start making those excuses,
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, like he's done. Like this,
Yeah.
he's never gonna make it. But like, I just like give up.
Yeah.
But like every now and then you get like a guy who, like you give him advice, and you're like, okay, I'll do that, and then they just immediately like it's just so easy. Just look at the guys who are successful and just use that as a guideline.
The thing about it is, with stand-up, there is an argument that impulsive, lazy people also can be great stand-ups because they just do it enough, or they're going on stage enough, and they have these ideas, and then they know how to push the idea to the public. They know how to like set the joke up right, and they do it in front of so many different crowds that they polish it up to the point where it's this fucking hilarious bit. Like I've seen guys that are lazy as fuck, and they're great comics, and you just gotta go, okay, you could be better.
Yeah.
You could be even better than you
Yeah.
are, believe it or not. And you tell them that, like, but they don't want to hear it.
That's the problem in jiu-jitsu, though. Like Gordon said, a lot of them don't treat it as their career. It's just like
Right.
a hobby, and I tell these guys, it's like any professional sports. You have a very limited window of your career. Eventually, you're going to have to retire, and they don't think like that.
Do you think it's also because the financial compensation is not at the level of like the NBA or something like that, where you, like if you're going to play in the NBA, you're playing against these guys that are they're fucking grinding. They're trying to get there. These guys are practicing every day. They're focused and driven, and those are the guys that ultimately succeed.
That's part of it too. Another thing that no one talks about, to my success, is that I have the financial freedom to just focus only on training. Like most guys will win ADCC and then support themselves for that year. They'll do like a seminar tour where for 3 months or 4 months out of the year, they're teaching seminars and they're making active income where you got to travel here, you got to travel there. And that fucks up your training. And the only reason why people wanted you in the first place for the seminar is because you're talented and you're winning competitions. So then you just take time away from training, you start losing more, and then the demand for seminars goes down and it kind of spirals out of control. Whereas I set myself up with a passive income and the instructionals and everything else, so I don't have to do the seminars if I don't want to. I just spend all of my time training. So my training, I have the ability to train way more than these guys because I set myself up in a much better financial position through the passive income. And no one talks about that. People spend half the year teaching seminars, and they're like, "Oh man, like I missed 6 months of training," and then they lose competitions, and then it just goes down from there.
Is it possible to do both? Is it possible to travel and still get that training in, or is it you really have to be like in a specific set and setting?
I mean, you have bodies, right? But like, for me, going to Ohio to teach a seminar is not going to be the same as training with John for the weekend.
Right.
Like traveling itself just gets old, and like you're flying all around, you not eating properly, like you're eating airport food and shit.
Yeah.
So, and then you're like miss lifting a lot of times. A lot of times guys travel and they teach a seminar, then they'll sit on the beach, and it's just without a routine, it's tough. Like it's just much better to stay in a routine. So you have like, okay, I'm doing this today, and this tomorrow. And the traveling gets old, and I mean, you have bodies, but it's not the same as having like a coach with a training program. Like you just show up at a random gym to teach a seminar, and now you have 50 people who you have no idea who they are. They're probably gonna try to injure you or go super hard. Like,
Right.
Now's my chance to fucking show Gordon how good I am. It's like, no, dude, I just taught a seminar. I'm not trying to fucking have you jump into my knee and break my leg.
Right. That does happen.
But there's a lot of athletes out there who could go on seminar tours, and those are pretty lucrative. I mean, they can make what, $2,000 to $4,000 per seminar. Like Craig Jones.
It's a great income, but it's active income. Like you have to be there. Like there's only so many seminars you can teach. There's only one you. There's only so many seminars you can teach in a year, and every seminar you teach is going to inherently detract from your time training.
Whereas your model is put out these DVDs and these videos.
Exactly.
And
So
these instructions.
I spend a weekend in Boston filming an instructional, and over the course of a year, it'll make me $1 million. And it's just one weekend of work and then everyone in the world can access it. It's not like I have to be there to teach a seminar for 200 people. I just upload it, and then someone in Europe can buy the instructional and watch it right at home.
And that's at BJJ Fanatics.
Yeah.
So in doing that, you must see those techniques and all the training that you've done. You must see it in other competitors as well. Do you?
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of the top level guys behind closed doors, they'll never admit it, but they tell me like, yeah, I just watch all your instructionals, and that's how I mean, and you can see it. In like my generation and the older generation, you don't see it as much because guys have already fell into their games and they don't want to change, which is why they're getting left behind and the new generation is beating them. But in the younger generation, like at ADCC trials, you see a lot of our stuff. You see like the back tack system, you see body locks, you see leg locks, you see all the stuff that we're doing in the instructionals.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see that systematic, like very technical approach spread. You know, like that you do see these very, very clear pathways that you guys choose, and then you see other people adopt those pathways too, and you see them follow the same things that John is teaching you guys. You see other people adopting that.
So for like ADCC, we have 8 qualifiers. So if you win a qualifier, you get to go to the World Championship. So we have North America, South America, Brazil, Europe, and Asia. The interesting thing to me is the North American trials have skyrocketed past the other regions, past Brazil, past Asia, and past Europe. And this was the first time I did the Brazil trials. Very tough, you know, it's a fighting culture, but they're lacking the wrestling and the leg lock. And if they don't adapt quickly, that gap between the North American athletes and everyone else is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's pretty crazy that Brazil, they rejected leg locks for so long. That's some of the really, really high level black belts. Like if you tap them with a leg lock, the crowd would throw shoes at you and boo at you,
Used to be viewed as a dirty technique, to be honest.
which is so weird.
Well, the thing is, it all comes down to technology. The people
I
who
was
have
up the
the
back,
most
but then
technology are going
I
to
did pull out the rings for that one.
ultimately win over
It's gonna take too much to
X
set up.
amount of years. So a big problem for Brazil is the best technology that they have access to, or that we have access to, is the instructional videos. Like if you can be anywhere in the world and buy a John Danaher video or a Gordon Ryan video and you can watch that, that in my opinion is the best technology that you have. The problem with Brazil is my instructionals are $250. That's 1,000 reais, and I have 20 of them. So you're really gonna get someone in Brazil that's gonna spend 20,000 reais, $20,000 for us on my instructionals. They don't have, a lot of people in Brazil don't have the financials to be able to purchase the technology. So that's going to make it harder for them to stay at the level that
It's not the same if I had a row. It's going to be a bit more up higher towards my,
because they
if
just don't
anything,
have access. A
upper
lot
traps.
of them don't have access to the technology.
That's
Many of
small
them do, but
substitute.
many of them don't. So it's going to be interesting
sure
in the
that you
next
just
10
bend
years.
forward.
It's like if you took
Hinge at the hips.
2 islands,
The back
and you
goes
put
down,
nerds
so
on one, and you put
keep your lower back
jocks
safe.
on the other, and you have them
There,
fight in the
and
first
just
4
row.
months.
Pull towards your
Nerds
chest.
are going to get beat up.
But if you want more
But
of
then
that upper back,
2 years from now,
have a bit of
they have
that
fucking spears.
shoulder kissing
And
each
then they
other.
have
So
guns
like pulling
5
it
years
back.
later, and then the meatheads are
As
still
you're
just
going.
trying to throw rocks at.
Just to
at
accentuate
the
those muscles you want to target.
So ultimately, technology is going to
Yeah.
is going to prevail. So I think the big problem that Brazil is running into, and will run into, is they don't have as much readily accessible technology as America, for example. So I think in the next decade or so, it's going to be a competition between America and Europe, Russia. When it starts getting money pushed into the sport, it gets bigger. You get a guy who's been wrestling all his life, who fucking grew up in the fucking middle of nowhere, Russia, who starts taking up jiu-jitsu at an early age, and he's wrestling. Like, that's going to be a problem.
What are the best schools and best gyms in terms of like technique that come out of Brazil? Are there some outliers that are more technical?
I think Mika. There's a new kid from Brazil. This, for me, I think he's going to be the second biggest superstar after Gordon. He's like 18 years old. His dad is producing some serious killers. A lot of people think
Mika Galvão?
Mika Galvão.
Yeah, he's a beast.
He's a beast. I trained with him. My mind was blown. Very talented.
So
He's-
young too.
Yeah, he's
No,
good in
that's
the
not
gi.
gonna work.
He's good no gi. Speaks perfect English. And Brazil's a little weird. It's very rare where all of Brazil will come and support an athlete, and they're all behind Mika. So his dad is producing. They got 2 other athletes in there as well in the 66 division, and these guys are killers. They were just smoking everyone at the trials. So
And do they have that same sort of a systematic technical approach?
from what I think Mika's dad's his coach, and he was like a police officer, so he trains like military style. So whatever he's doing, I mean, it's working.
Another big problem too is
Oh,
all
that's a
the
good way to make sure
all the
I don't flex
Brazilians
my
who are
neck.
super successful all moved to America. So most of the Brazilian champions live in America now, and then you have some good champions that live in Brazil, like Felipe lives in Brazil, but a majority of the champions moved here to either train or open up schools. So it'll be interesting. Brazil has a
could just
few
buy a weighted
guys,
vest. But I'm
that
very frugal.
good champions that they're producing now. Like Mika's a very young kid, but
So this works.
over the last 5 years, there's a lot less champions coming out of Brazil.
That's
forgot where I'm
really
up to.
interesting.
But
So
it's
they
not
just
again.
come over here and then they start schools and make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is harder to do over there.
I mean, the other problem too is this: if you want to learn leg locks, who do you go to? Okay, you got John Danaher. There's some 10th Planet guys who are very good. Lachlan Giles. There's not that many experts in leg locks, so that's a big issue. And other than buying DVDs, I don't know how you close that gap. Because it's, for me, I hate leg locks personally. It's like a whole nother martial art.
Just remember
It's
they're
obviously very
crunches. You don't have to go all the way up to your knees.
They have to learn that.
Once you get
that
to your
part
knees,
of
you're
the
doing
game.
sit-ups then.
And I went to Brazil.
Once you're
this
doing
is the first
sit-ups, you're
time I
starting to
went
work hip
Brazil
flexors,
qualifiers
which
myself.
is what you don't want.
I went there for one reason. The other ones, they were okay, but I went there to get that passion into no-gi, and
Once
I
the
was there for
shoulders
2
come off the
weeks,
ground,
and we
you're good.
smashed it. A lot of competitors, so I'm interested to see what happens in 2024 in the next Brazilian trials, to see because I've seen the progression in the North American trials massively over the last 4 years. So I want to see if that happens in Brazil, because at the end of the day, they still own 85-90% of all ADCC titles.
It is pretty wild when you think about it that way, right? But obviously that's the birth of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Fucking Brazil, clearly.
Exactly.
Over the next 5 years, there'll definitely be more Brazilian, maybe 10 years, more Brazilian champions than any other
So hinge at
country,
the hips,
per ADCC.
slightly
But,
forward.
the next decade, I think you'll start to see a shift where it's more Americans, more Europeans.
And are there good guys coming out of Russia, like you were talking about? Has that happened yet?
Not yet, because most of them just are too busy wrestling, or they go right to MMA.
Yeah.
But I think and a lot of the Sambo guys kind of clash and think jiu-jitsu is like soft or whatever the case is. But I think as the sport grows in popularity, and especially when there's more money pushed into it, I think you're going to have people who are dedicated from a young age, who are very good at wrestling, like near Olympic level in wrestling, but
Actually.
not good enough to make the Olympics, so they do jiu-jitsu instead, and they have like
My
Olympic
yoga ball's
level
outside,
wrestling,
but that's why I didn't
with
think
high
about it.
level intricate jiu-jitsu, and that's gonna be an
Yeah.
issue, because the main
Bros.
hole, one of the
Pull
big
towards your chest.
the
Aim
two
for the
major
middle of the
holes
back.
of the last decade in jiu-jitsu has been leg locks, which is now the gap starting to be filled there, and the integration of standing and ground techniques. The standing position in jiu-jitsu is terrible. The wrestling for jiu-jitsu rule sets is mostly terrible. But when you have Olympic caliber wrestlers who have been trained jiu-jitsu since they're 5 years old, you're gonna have
What
a
that's
real
good
issue.
for is
Yeah. So what needs to
good
be
for
done
desk workers. It's
to
good for anyone, honestly.
get
'cause
more eyes
most
on
people
it?
have this
'Cause
posture.
right now, to me, it
So you
seems
wanna
like, I know you
pull
guys
that
sold
back.
thousands of tickets, but those
So
are
you stretch
probably
out the front.
thousands of jiu-jitsu students.
Strengthen the rhomboids.
Well, I'll be
You gotta
honest.
do more Rogan shit.
You get a better posture. Hold yourself better.
I'll be honest with you. So 2019, me and my team
Less problems in the
realistically, we worked
future.
on it for 4 months. We didn't really give it our
The
100%.
sooner you do it,
Best feedback I had.
The
at
sooner
2019
future you
is
will
a
thank you.
middle-aged woman comes up to me, and she's like, "I just came here because my son asked me to come, and I had a great time." So, my whole thing is I need to cater to the masses. If I only cater to jiu-jitsu fans, I'm not gonna grow. So how do I do that? For this one, one of the biggest influences for me was Pride FC. So we're going very heavy on the production, and I bring up this analogy all the time. How many UFC fans actually train a combat sport? It's probably less than 1%. NFL is what, 1% of one. No one trains it. So I need to get the masses and not just cater to jiu-jitsu fans. So that's what my goal is with this event.
The problem is that watching jiu-jitsu is not that exciting until someone submits somebody. Whereas watching MMA, everybody understands what's going on. That guy kicked that guy. That guy punched that guy. Oh my God, he's got his neck.
That's the big thing. Is it starts at the athletes, and most athletes are boring. Like when I go out, I have like the kind of like Anderson Silva effect, where like you go out and you're like, this dude is just gonna make his opponent look like he's never trained before. So like that's why people watch me. If you look at what I do, most people are interested in matches because of movement. Like that's why Gary's so exciting, because you're going to watch Gary Tonin. It's gonna be a fucking sick match because he's gonna be just scrambling all over the mat the whole time looking for submissions. My matches actually don't have that much movement, but when I get a hold of people, it's just like when I get them into certain positions and they just can't escape, they can't move, they can't do anything. That's what's interesting. So most people enjoy movement, but when they watch my matches, it's interesting because of the fact that I just make guys look like they don't know what they're doing. But most guys are boring. Like you see Andre go out and he just pushes a guy around for 20 minutes and then hits a shitty double leg and scores 2. And it's like, yeah, everyone knew that was going to happen. Number 1, number 2, no one wanted to watch that. So it really starts in the training room. An athlete's always going to train or always going to compete like he trains. If you train to fucking submit guys, no matter what the rule set is, you're going to go out and you're going to try to submit guys.
Yeah, there's matches like that one who's number 1 match between Wagner
And Hinger.
Yeah, and Hinger. It's like, They just pushed each other around for 15 whole minutes.
No, and there was no wrestling exchanges. There was no jiu-jitsu at all.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah. So like you get a match like that, and you're like, oh man, we're gonna watch this. Who's number 1 today? Let me show my friend who's never trained. And they see that, and they're like, what the fuck was that, man?
The best part of that match was Eddie Bravo. Eddie Bravo heckling.
Oh yeah, he was saying some. I think he was yelling like Imanari.
Oh, we were hammered. Yeah, he was yelling out some wild shit.
I think the problem with jiu-jitsu too is for the last 20 years, it's been ingrained to the athletes. It doesn't matter how you win. You can win by an advantage. You see in the gi championship, they win by an advantage and they'll rip open their gi like they won the lottery. And I keep telling these athletes, the days of just winning is not enough. It's how you win. You got to go out and market yourself. And I think that's the hard part. And as that transitioning from amateur to going a little bit more mainstream, you have to be exciting. You have to market yourself.
Well, some of the young up and coming guys that are very excited, like the Ruotolo brothers, like what is the secret to their success? These guys are 19 years old.
I was just thinking about this. So the best up and comers I've seen are the Rotolos, Mika Galvao, and there's this American kid, Colabate.
Yes.
Who he won at 16 years old. He won our trials, took everyone out. And the one thing I've noticed, the common denominator for all of them is extremely supportive parents. So Cole's dad's there, Mika's dad, and the Rotolo's mom and father really support them. And they've been competing since they've basically been born.
Those kids are very impressive, the Rotolo brothers.
I agree with that. On a technical level, in order to differentiate yourself and be a champion, you need to be good at everything, good everywhere, and have 1 to 2 things you can do better than everybody else.
3 more
So
sets
the
and done.
Rotolos are good at everything. They have a unique ability to manage
Let's
pacing
say
better
sub.
than anybody, better than almost anybody.
Let's get
So that's
around
one thing.
125 based on something.
They have a very unique ability to hit dark strangles from anywhere. They are dark strangle masters, more or less. They have very good darces, and they can finish people with them from any position, top, bottom, doesn't matter. And they have an incredible ability to put side-to-side flanking passing pressure, where they're never engaged inside the guard. Every time you see them approach a guard, they always touch the legs and they walk to an angle. They walk to north-south. So the whole time you're in a full crunch trying to pull your knees into your chest, and they have really long arms. So they have hands on your legs, and you're trying to make contact with your legs, you can't make contact. So they have incredible ability to put massive amounts of passing pressure on you. If you try to stand up or overextend yourself from bottom position and get up, your hand comes out, and then you get strangled with the darce, which they're exceptionally good at. And then when they see you starting to break from the passing pressure, then they pick the pace up. So they have 3 things which they do better than almost anybody else, and that's why they're so successful. Everyone has holes in their games, and if you exploit those holes, you can beat them. You've seen Craig exploited some of the holes in their game, and Craig managed to beat them. But they do everything well, and they have 3 things which they do better than almost anybody else. So on a technical level, that's why they're so impressive, is because they have something that differentiates them, and they're very dangerous, so you have to respect them from every position.
Which brother tapped Gary?
Ty.
Ty Rotolo.
Were you surprised by that?
I was very surprised, because we did a whole camp based around dark strangles, and Gary tried to put a hand in. First of all, Gary he turned towards him and actually gave Ty the arm. All he had to do was put his back on the floor. So I'm watching him like, what's happening right now? And then he turned towards him, and Ty locked the darce, and I was like, ooh, that looks tight. And then before he can get any of his escapes going, like the cage was in the way, and then it just got too tight, and he had a tap. And I was like, wow, like that was not what I expected at all.
Gary puts himself in danger.
Yes.
Like he is a risk-taking motherfucker. That dude just flies at you.
When I watch Gary matches, I'm 100 times more nervous watching Gary matches than I am competing myself. I watch it and I'm like, oh, why did he just let himself get flattened out in half guard? I'm like, why did he just let his back get taken? I'm like, just go out there and fucking like try to kill these people. Like, don't just mess around. The one time the two best performances Gary's had was the 155 EBI, where he went out guns blazing and just submitted everybody easily, and that his match against Paul Harris, I think, where he went out because he like really respected Paul Harris, and he's like, I don't want to get my leg broken. So
also, Paul Harris at the time was on all the steroids.
Yeah, he was like literally
was so big.
He's the most feared athlete I've ever seen in ADCC. I'll never forget, one of his opponents in 2011 goes up to him before they're about to face each other. Hey man, if you catch my leg, please don't break it. And there was, I'm not going to name names, there was famous athletes who were just terrified of this guy.
Because he hangs on.
Yeah, I mean,
he doesn't let go when you tap.
Did you ever see that video with him and David Avillan?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. That was so dumb, because they should have never allowed them to restart with a locked heel hook where you can go ready, set, go.
Those are in the rules.
That's so dumb. That's so dumb, because in scrambles, everyone knows this. When you're in the middle of a scramble, like, you're still moving. Like, if someone's trying to secure it, you're still defending. But if you let a guy say ready,
Yeah.
set, go, and all he has to do is just crank on it.
I agree 100,000%. One of the most controversial. Oh man.
Yeah, this is it. This is the match. So they let him start from here.
It's a bad break in the heel knee bar.
Oh,
See, he gets broke.
yeah.
See the knee hyperextend.
Yeah. Oh my God. How bad was his knee after this?
Look, I mean,
I
looks
saw
bad.
that.
I don't know if he got surgery or anything, but you can go if you go slow mo, you can see
Oh!
right there. Yeah, that's a bad
Oh!
break.
Did he break the knee, or is that like a shin bone break? That looks
You
terrible.
get ACL, you get hamstring. I mean, it's
That's an ACL.
so it's a heel
Easy.
knee bar. So he has a heel hook grip, which means that David can't turn back into the knee bar. Because usually, if you have a knee bar with only one leg extended, the guy can high leg and twist and turn. But
I'm
if he
already
turns
116
back
beats,
into
alright.
it, the normal way to escape, you get broken with the heel hook because he has a heel hook grip.
That seems so insane that they would allow this.
I
So
think-
insane
I
to
think
start
for
from that
this-
position.
Oh god.
So insane.
So I think for this match, this was
At least
in
you let go.
Nottingham. I think the controversy was he tapped and said he didn't, and that's why they put
Paul
him there.
Harris did?
No,
Oh,
Avalon said he didn't tap.
Really?
And there was some confusion. If my memory.
Oh, let's see that. Let me see that. I want to see if he tapped. Where?
See, that's when they say.
Oh, that's a
You see-
tap.
See his leg?
See, he's,
Oh, that seems like he tapped.
Yeah, watch.
yeah,
Yeah.
So,
They should have looked at that tape and said that's a wrap.
but that's one of the
Snaps it.
most controversial things we do in ADCCs. We'll let you out of the bounds, just specifically for that.
Look, Paul Harris is trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to hug. Trying to hug. Oh, we want to do it again? Okay, but let's have a fully locked in heel hook.
I would have been like, it's over.
Fuck that, man. The fake tap is one of the saddest things.
Remember,
It's so
Bustamante?
sad. Yeah, he tapped out
Lindland.
Matt Lindland twice. Yeah.
I had to fight that fucking guy a week after ADCC. I had like my broken hand still. I was like all beat up from ADCC, and like the weekend after, I had to go out and fight him.
He was huge.
Paul Harris.
Yeah, he's a giant dude. He's so
He shows up in a
jacked.
tank top. He's like 230. I'm like, oh my god. He's
He's
awful.
extremely flexible too. It's weird.
He can do full splits.
He can rotate his entire torso very easily.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
That's interesting for a guy that's that built.
he was
Yeah, he
a
can like full
behemoth.
splits and stuff.
Yeah, he was one of the scariest guys in MMA. And then, a few guys figured out his game.
Belcher, right?
Yeah, Alan Belcher. Alan Belcher trained, I believe he took Lister down to camp with him, and they just went over every single aspect of leg lock.
You know what, while I'm at
defense.
it,
That's all they drill.
That's
They
great
just
for upper
drill
body
that
while I'm
constant
doing that for
time. So
punches.
he actually
Great for lower
entered
back.
into like leg lock positions, entered into Ashi positions, and
Yeah.
then beat him up.
Countered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Belcher's a bad motherfucker.
you normally see
though.
like
Belcher's fighting.
most people
he's
have
a
like an arch
boxer.
back like this,
And he's a
accentuated and
heavyweight.
whatnot.
Is he?
Yeah,
I didn't
he's,
know
Want your
he's
core,
fucking
you'll
huge.
crunch the front.
Go find out
Then
Alan.
flatten out the
Go
back.
Alan Belcher boxing. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
he's
At
boxing
least
people. now.
work it and engage it and turn
Look
it
at the
on.
size of him.
It'll be a good start.
Hello, USADA.
Once your core gets a bit stronger,
Dude, Jesus.
concentrate.
Yeah, he fought 185 in the UFC, but
pelvic
obviously
tilt.
cutting weight. to
Disclaimer, of
185,
course.
But now he's
If you already have
a
a
super jacked heavyweight. See if you can find a
Posterior
video
pelvic
of him.
tilt.
He actually looks.
Don't worry
very
about too
good.
much, but
Well, he's a
always-
smart.
you can
guy.
always at least work your core, I'd
Alan's a
say.
very
Pretty sure that's a
smart
safe
guy,
advice.
and he's a very disciplined guy. So like,
But you already have pre-existing
bare
conditions.
knuckle
that
Bare
you
boxing.
knuckle.
oh,
consult your
Jesus,
physical
that's
therapist.
even grosser.
let them examine you.
Everyone comes into these fights.
Find someone who's
all
trustworthy,
guys
of
who
course,
get
there's a lot out
MMA,
there.
They're all like 3 times the
But-
size. I love it.
Yeah, it is. The bare knuckle thing is
Generic
weird
advice
how
when it
that's
comes to
become so
posture is
popular.
core work,
But,
rhomboid
you know,
work.
like no
and
one
chin
has
tucks
bare
for your
knuckle
neck.
MMA.
Yeah.
It's weird because you really should. I mean, if you can shin someone in the face, like why can't you punch him with a bare knuckle? If you can elbow someone in the face, why
Yeah.
can't you punch him with a bare knuckle?
That was the always interesting thing to me about Japan. They didn't allow elbows, but soccer kicks to the head, no problem.
And stomps.
yeah.
Yeah,
Bend
soccer
away.
kids, stomps. It's just
Dude, soccer kicks are brutal.
you really have an unrealistic idea of what your hands are capable of, though, if they're wrapped and gloved, because your hands are very delicate instruments. I mean, some people's more than others, obviously, but no matter what you do with your hands, these fucking bones are not meant
They
to
must
be
like
hitting
break their
people.
hands every fight.
all the time.
Fedor used to break his hand almost every fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's so common. It's common in MMA. It's common in boxing, just in regular boxing. And in the last fight, just this past weekend, Cyril Gahn broke his hand on Tai Tuivasa's head. Yeah, but this the thing about bare knuckles, I don't understand what they're doing with those wraps, because they don't
Last
really
set.
have bare knuckles. I mean, the knuckles
Let's
are
wait
bare,
for
but the
125
hand
beats.
is
It's coming quick.
somehow or another
I'll start the
supported,
next set.
which
Oh, it's
I
coming real
think
quick. Oh, it's here.
you should be fucking bare knuckle, bare knuckle. It's like just you have bare elbows, you have bare knees, you have
Damn
bare
you,
feet.
delay.
Does it protect
Maybe
their
for
hands?
wrist.
Rate monitor.
It must do something.
Wrist support,
Yeah,
maybe?
wrist support for sure. I mean, when you think about it, like if you're,
It's probably like
your
almost
wrist
up to the
is
hour.
shaped like that, you hit
Hurry it up.
anything on the edge.
I don't
yeah,
try to
it's
stay
gonna
within the
jack
hour,
your
but
wrist
you know,
up. You know,
optimally,
it'll fuck you up.
time-wise.
These two bones are the only bones that are really supported. These
That's the
break
one
all
good thing
time,
about
those
streaming.
little
That's one
ones
reason
where
why I do it,
your
because I can see
pinky
this little time
and
how long I've been
Do
streaming
you
for.
think it's
I can
the
use a
way they
clock for
throw
sure, but
punches?
this is just
'Cause, like,
easier.
I remember Fedor used to throw these huge looping punches.
Right, those
Make sure I
casting
stay on
punches.
track.
Yeah, he throws punches like this too. Like
Yeah.
he'll throw these kind of
Yeah.
weird punches. There's something to that, but it's
Yeah.
also it's
That's one way if you
chaos.
want
And you throw
make sure you
punches.
stay on your
You try to hit him with these.
to stay on time with your workout, keep a timer. I know
and
it's
then
simple
your hand
advice, but
shatters, and then you have this
Helps.
swollen fucking mass.
But especially when you're at
inside your
home,
leather
more rounds
glove.
to fight.
at home you
Yeah.
tend to take it a bit more
Guys do it
easier.
all the time.
So
But it's just
Sets
weird
and
to
reps
me. Like
take- well,
Uriah
sets tend to
Faber
take longer.
when he
And
fought
watching stuff
Michael
as well.
Yeah, he fought both.
that easily
both
makes
his
the time
hands.
fly. But
He's
by the time you're right there,
yeah.
Yeah, it's
it
it's
keeps you on track.
because it's the only aspect of MMA where the part of your weapon is protected. And it's really kind of the weakest weapon. You know, a punch is, I mean, it's very powerful, obviously, but it's very weak in comparison to a kick
Or an elbow. Yeah.
or an elbow. Yeah, I mean, an elbow, you feel nothing. You could you could
Yeah.
do that on a table and it doesn't bother you at all.
Yeah.
If you did that with your hand, that would really fucking hurt. Like you see these guys, you know, fighting in bare knuckle boxing. And you're like, that's really interesting. How that's kind of taking off.
It's getting bigger, right? I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these.
They're smart marketing. They're doing a great job. You know, they get a lot of hot chicks over there, and
Yeah.
you see that last girl? She flashed the crowd.
Yeah, I saw
What's her
that.
name? Ty something or another.
Saw
That's
that
amazing.
yesterday.
Yeah, she showed everybody her tits after she knocked some girl out. Nice combination too. She hit this girl with a clean uppercut and a smooth left hook, and then she's like, "And here's my tits too."
Sign up to my
Young
OnlyFans.
guys.
Yeah, I
Should
mean,
give
why
her a
not?
bonus for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, it was on all over these websites. For a first, bare knuckle boxer flashes a crowd. Smart marketing move, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I think it should be bare knuckle. I also think there should be no cage. I really think they should be fighting on like an open field. I'm like, if you have a field for football, why don't you have a field for MMA? Just have them stand in the center, just fight. Like, because it's too easy to get up if you have a cage.
Yeah.
Someone presses you up against the cage, you can wall walk, you get back up to your
Yeah.
feet.
The
Here
cage
she is.
changes it completely.
Whee! Oh, Jesus, that's the full one. Some good sized cans, too. Congratulations, lady. It was a nice combination, too, though. Watch the combination. Boom! And look at this clean left hook. Smack. Very nice. Yeah, she's hot and she gets crap.
That was bare knuckle as well.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, they're you know, they got Paige Van Zant went
I
over
saw
there, Rachel Ostovich. So they got these hot girls fighting each other.
Is that
It's
in the
kinda
U.S.?
funny. Yeah, they can fight in, like, Wyoming.
Okay, I was gonna say, how did it
Yeah.
get sanctioned?
Yeah, I think they can only fight in Wyoming. It's like fucking cowboys show up with dip in their mouth and
I mean, the original.
fresh bear
All the rich
scratches.
Cowboys.
Yeah, Wyoming's a wild ass place. Such a small population, and it's like super duper rich people in like Jackson Hole, and then ranchers.
Yes.
It's weird.
Every 100 miles.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only place where they do it, or maybe
That fight was
Oklahoma.
big.
Oh, in Thailand, the one you just saw. Yeah, that one was. So they're doing it in outside the United States as well, but they're signing a
Alright,
bunch of
one more set and I'm
you know,
done.
former MMA fighters.
I did 7 for the
that
first set. Might as well do 7 for this
their
one.
knees are
1-6
gone
now.
and, they can't
Hector
kick
Plus, I
anymore.
just want to do one more.
Yeah,
as well.
Hector's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mike Perry just beat Michael Venom Page,
Yeah.
That
which
was
is pretty
surprising.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's a big win for him.
Yeah, it is.
Venom Page is a bad motherfucker. Monroe, Louisiana. Oh, interesting. Oh, it was in Montana? So they do have some in other states. Interesting. So one's in Montana, Monroe, Louisiana. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how they sanction that. I don't know what the rules are in terms of, but
So
I'm
120 beats and it's like
surprised
the
that
next set.
no
Watch it
one has
plummet
come
down
up with
once I
a
say
bare
that.
knuckle MMA organization.
Used to be in the beginning, right? I mean,
Well, you know, you have Letway, which is bare knuckle, like Muay Thai style with headbutts. That's David Leduc, that fucking savage.
Yeah.
He's the king of that shit.
Yeah. I trained with him once.
He's a wild
We
guy
did
to watch.
jiu-jitsu together. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. He came to Henzo's. He was
119.
like, he was in town for, I think we were at
Alright, last set.
Masvidal versus Diaz was New York, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
I think it was that card, and he was in town, and he came to Henzo's the next day, and we did jiu-jitsu. He's like a blue belt, a purple belt.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's talking about doing some MMA. I think he's thought about doing it. He definitely entered into a grappling tournament. I saw some video of him in a grappling tournament, strangling some people.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Fun. Not bad. He's a wild striker, though. I'll tell you that, man. And he's like one of the rare guys that like puts combinations together with headbutts. So like as he's holding pads, he headbutts the pads.
Yeah, he's got a good social media too.
Yeah.
Just like him like breaking watermelons and shit with
Yeah.
headbutts.
What's his name? David Leduc?
Yeah, that can't be good for your head. That just can't. I mean, soccer players get CTE. And that fucking
Just hitting the ball.
that light ass, bouncy ass ball. Imagine like slamming your head into Thai pads.
Yeah.
That can't be good for the noggin. I mean, I'd like to talk to him in a few years and just ask him what his memory's like. How many more years do you think that you can maintain this level of dedication? Have you thought about this?
Yeah. So it's all, number one, pending my health, particularly my stomach, which is like probably 70% better now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Like the last podcast, like I told you, like I literally have no idea what we talked about at all, besides me telling you that I was nauseous.
Because you were trying not to puke.
I was so nauseous. I was just like, come on, fucking hold
Tell
me
everybody
together.
what happened. So what happened was you got staph infection. Henzo's in New York City was notorious for giving people staph. That basement, because it got no sunlight. It was down there, and you got a bunch of savages out there strangling each other and sweating in this puddle, and it just got funky, right? And so you got bad staph.
So I had recurring staph infections in 2018, and then I was taking oral antibiotics, and it just wiped out everything in my stomach, like all the good bacteria, everything. And then I had what ended up being a fungal overgrowth, a massive fungal overgrowth in my small intestine, and a huge bacterial imbalance in my stomach, and then H. pylori, which I had. But it was misdiagnosed as gastroparesis because I did a stomach emptying test where you eat like radioactive eggs, and they scan your stomach every X amount of, like every half hour to see how it moves through the stomach. And I was emptying slow. And so they misdiagnosed as gastroparesis. I still have people message me every single day who like are catching up on the podcast. They're like, man, I just saw Joe. Tell me what you did for your gastroparesis. I'm like, I don't fucking have gastroparesis. But they misdiagnosed it. After like 4 years, I went to like all the best doctors in the country, and they're just useless. Like they just, oh, we'll do an endoscopy. I had one guy do a colonoscopy, and they're like, yeah, you look fine. And I was like, okay, well, if I can't get these doctors to figure it out, I guess I'm just gonna deal with it. Hopefully it'll get better. And then it just got worse as time went on because the fungal overgrowth just started getting worse and worse. And then it was like affecting my kidney function, and it was just like awful. And then I had to like partially, I took a leave of absence. I guess I like retired from grappling from a year because I couldn't even like function as a human being. Never mind,
Right.
like I couldn't even like hold the conversation. I was so nauseous all the time.
Very nice.
And then
That's it for today. So, quick recap. Weighted dips, go for triceps. Weighted lunges, a bit further past the knees. Following that knees over toes, guys, on Instagram. He's pretty good at what he does, but I'm going a bit further than where my knee, well, my knee's going further than my foot, accentuating more of the quads. Weighted abs with the weighted backpack. Punches at the front. And yeah, upper back as well with resistance bands. That's the door. Back to the other thing. So simple. When it comes to posture is unfortunately a 24/7 job. Meaning that you can't. There's no such thing as like my patients come to me. It's like, oh, how do I fix my posture? How do I get to a point where I don't have to think about it anymore? And I tell them, unfortunately, like it's a 24/7 job. Like I said, you can't stop thinking about it. But what you can do is, the more you do it, the less frequent you have to remind yourself about your posture. And honestly, I only ever fixed my posture properly maybe within the last 3 years or so during my Chiro course. I figured I'm still in uni, I've got time to focus on myself and fix the things that I want to fix before I have to start work and everything and all that, which a lot of, not saying that's not hard to fix it with a life and everything. I just had more time at that time to think about it. But yeah, the more you do it, the easier it gets. So like I said, simple for your neck. Most people forward head carriage. So chin tucks, look it up online. Pretty much chin to the back of your neck. Then you straighten that out. If you do about 10 reps of those every day, wherever you are, where you're sitting, I always say when you're sitting at your desk or driving in a car, you only need your head to do it. So you can do it anywhere. Then you got your mid-thoracics, upper back, rows, as I was showing, to strengthen the back. So you pull your chest out, bring the shoulders back, and then stretching through the front as well. So you can accentuate, I guess, the posture correction from both ends. And then lower back, like I said, unless you're like me, I already have an anterior pelvic tilt, so my pelvis sort of goes down and forward, so it's already accentuating the lower back, so I need this more than ever. I gotta bring that hip backwards and down. If I strengthen the core, it pulls for me and flans out my back. I'm accentuating everything, but that's essentially it. At least, yeah, just little things to think about. If you start feeling pain in your back, I always get all the time from standing all day and whatnot, but at least I know what to do once I do start feeling pain in my back. I flex my core, relieve some of that pressure off my back, and it takes it away. Lets you at least do something about it at that time before it becomes anything worse than what it can be at that time. And anytime you do it any way out of it, it's all about preventative in the end. Prevention's always better than treatment, because once you have to try to get to treatment, that's where it gets tricky. If you can at least stay ahead of it, then you're not losing too many days. But once you get injured, once you leave it too long, that's it. That's at least 1, 2, 4 weeks out, depending on your issue. So no better time for your health is when you're healthy, or especially I guess when you're unhealthy. It doesn't matter. No better time for health, regardless wherever you're at in life. You can always come back, or you can always improve. Yeah, there's certain underlying conditions and everything and all that, and I get that. But there's always something you can improve on that'll help you, whether that be physically or mentally. Mind-body connection, it's all connected. Physical pain can be made worse through mental distress. But anyway. See if I can get him to dance. Oh, wrong one. Oh, there we go. So anyway, that's done. I'm gonna go make lunch. Next stream should be on sometime on Wednesday, whether that be morning or night. I am working on Wednesdays now, so the morning ones are a lot less consistent. Yeah, goodness. I think I need to get a new scale. Yesterday I said I was 70. I normally float around 75, 76 kilos, and I'm trying to gain weight. And my scale's trying to tell me, oh, you're losing a bit more weight, Daniel. I was like, oh God, I hope you're wrong. So I need to buy a new scale. That's my problem, but you don't want to hear it. It'll just make you jealous. Anyway, till next time. Thanks for everyone who followed. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the extra exercises. It's always much appreciated. But yeah.